Hey, everybody, and welcome to Learning from Smart People. I am your host, Rob Oliver, and today I am joined by Jennifer Yan. She is the founder at Seven Figure Shift, and she is based in San Francisco. She's been an entrepreneur for over 3 years. She helps B2B business owners to 10x their business in less time and with less money. Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rob. And I'm happy to be presenting from sunny San Francisco, California, and looking forward to speaking to you and your audience.
Don't bring up the fact that you're in sunny San Francisco, just due to the fact that I am in dreary, cold, and snowy Pittsburgh, and we won't dwell on that. Let's start this way. Tell me a little bit about how you got started on doing what you're doing, and kind of your backstory as to how you got to where you are today.
Of course. So I mentioned I'm in San Francisco, California, which is the crux of the Silicon Valley tech companies. The Googles, Facebook, Adobe. And, when I wasn't creating my business before that, I was actually in software engineering. And so what software engineering taught me is that, there's a good way to do things and there's an even better way to do what you want to do. And so I've always brought those type of principles back into my business and figured out, there's a good way to do this, but is there a better strategy to get to where we need to be in less time and money, using less resources?
Okay, so it's it's amazing to hear you say that because you said there's a good way to do things, and I was expecting the next thing for you to say is, and there's a bad way to do things, and you went the other direction to say if there's good, there's got to be better. How did you develop that understanding? Because that's not common sense. That's not the way that most people look at things.
Oh yes, this all like went back to my software engineering days. And so, sometimes we're given a problem and we have to create a way to just make it work because we're just throwing the problem at first. And then oftentimes I would type in lines of code and then I would run through the compiler, make sure it works, and I find out it does work. And then my instructor would come in and say, like, can we do this using less time and using less of the machine's resources? And so that's kind of like where it started and kind of like things that I've brought back into my business and make sure that my clients as well has like better ways to design systems for their business.
Okay, it's again, I'm thinking back to the way that the way that software has developed. Okay, um, I'm old enough that the very first hard drive that I had on the computer in my home was a 5 megabyte hard drive. And my dad was pretty sure that we would never fill it. It was just so huge. Um, and all of the everything that he needed to do was able to be was contained on there very handily, I might add. And now there are no well, very few software pieces that are written that are that small and that efficient. How do you? It seems to me like sometimes the code is just written without care for how big it is, and it's just huge. Uh, is that something that you were taught in particular, or is that someone that all is something that all software engineers are taught?
It's something that's always like taught in software engineering. Um, so it's just definitely very tech and geeky, but basically there's someone writes a program on a software and you're taught, is this how much time does it take to run? And if it's like um something that's like it works, but it's like takes a million years to happen. Like in real life, that would never happen. Let's say you create like a website and it took like more than um let's say more than 2.5 seconds. Research says your user won't even come to your website and look at it because everything's expected on demand now. And so they've um, over time, users or clients just demand things on, on demand. And when it's not given to that standard, then it's a lot more easier to like, for them to just leave your service or leave your product and just say, I'll go with someone else.
Interesting. You put a lot of emphasis on time. Is that part of what you do in your business?
Absolutely. So don't quote me on this because this is actually a quote from Mark Cuban. He's one of the big Shark Tank investors. And basically, in his quote, uh, what he says is time is the most valuable asset that you don't own. And you may or may not realize it now, but how you choose to spend it will tell you a lot more about where your future will take you. And when you think about it, time versus money is something that two assets that business owners always struggle with. They need both. But money, you can make more of it, and time is just like a ticking clock. So we're always giving this amount of time on Earth, and we're ticking down to it. So we could never get more. So, I've always been fascinated with like, Mark Cuban, he's like a billionaire. Like these major billionaires and millionaires, you might not think that we have anything in common with them. But the thing is, we have the same amount of time, 24 hours in a day. But how do they get to where they're at given the same amount of time? And how could we kind of like start making progress towards like what they're achieving?
Yeah. So you're really, time is a fixed commodity and you can't manufacture more of it. You can't, um, you know, I think there was a movie a couple years ago in which everybody was allotted a certain amount of time and you could steal it from other people or trade it. But that's not reality. And so what I'm assuming then you're doing is trying to help people figure out how to maximize their time for the most return on the investment of the time that they're putting in. Is that an accurate understanding?
Absolutely. And part of that process is start we use our double T system, which is teams and technology, to make sure we're creating the system in which is 10xing your business using less time and money. And so when we break that down, teams, so basically, as I mentioned, 24 hours in a day, we all have 24 hours. So, finding ways to outsource like small administrative tasks take up a lot of time. But, some of the examples you could outsource is like, you have bookkeeping duties that are really administrative, but they don't really help to like grow and scale your business. So bookkeepers, basically finding ways to, you know, taxes. We could all do our own taxes, but the thing is, it takes a lot of time and money. Um, and also, what I've been working on is the sales team. And so basically, I only have 24 hours a day, but if I multiply it by 10, 10 sales members, 24 times 10, all of a sudden I have 240 hours in a day. And so using that, I've been able to kind of like maximize my time. But, some of your listeners might be sitting there listening and thinking that, oh, it's going to cost money to hire people to help me out. But, you know, when I started as a business owner, like I didn't really have either time or money. So I thought about strategically, like, what can I give them to help me out? And so with the sales team, normally you have a salary employee, it's like maybe 50 to 100K per year. But, I've worked on towards a commission sales type of model for my sales team members. And some of them do prefer that type of model. It's flexible schedule and, they grow with the business. So they get paid when you get paid. So it's less of a financial risk than, having a full on employee. So, you could find like basically like commission sales members, or what I've done is like gone to networking events and I help them out in one way, and then they help me out by providing their services to me. So in a way, negotiating and bartering with services is another way to bring down those costs for creating like teams of people to help you out.
Okay. That, so it's, I've heard someone express the concept that so often we undervalue our own time. And so when you say, you can do your own taxes, but it's going to take you time to do that. And the time that you spend doing your taxes is time that you are not generating revenue. And so the question is, what revenue can you generate per hour, and can does that revenue offset the cost of having someone else do the job? Does that make sense to you at all?
Well, absolutely. It's all about profit margins when you're in a business. Basically, like, you know, there's a lot of things that go into a business, but you got to keep track of like how much expenses are coming in, how much expenses are, expenses you have, and then also some of the hidden pitfalls of income is that, let's say this is a plant and this is all the income coming in, and your plant could hold a lot of income, but there's holes on the bottom. So, holes could be like expenses, but the biggest expense that I don't, people don't call it expense is taxes. And so, I think at some point, I do believe that everyone should pay their fair share. I know there's huge companies that are kind of like not at this point, but taxes, they do eat away at like 30 to 50%, depending on how your taxes are structured. Um, so basically, we actually at my company, we actually have like, a whole team of like our power play team has a tax person on there that could look at, what taxes are eating up 30 to 50%. That's a huge chunk, maybe even higher than any expenses you're paying normally for your business. So those are definitely things we should consider when looking into like how much money we're making versus how much money we're losing.
Okay. I, let's talk about that. You're talking about your power play team, and you've got a tax person on there. You've got salespeople on there. Talk to me about how you assemble that team. Are they are they all like virtual assistants? Are they part time? Are they local people? How do you assemble that? And maybe we can talk about after that. How do you find them, if that makes any sense? So you can
Oh,
address either
absolutely.
one of those.
Absolutely. I've actually got the pleasure of working with almost all of my people, my power play team. So I personally, like when I was opening my own business, so on the team right now was, is my business lawyer. So he actually helped me with like, incorporating my business. So when you incorporate, there's kind of like two advantages. You kind of save on taxes, and also you reduce your liability because they can't go after your personal assets if it's structured correctly and you're using an LLC or corporation the right way. And so I have a business planner, financial planner, um, and then some sales team members in the future. And the way I kind of found these people is actually through networking and business events. And you know, I think the best way to actually like, you know, definitely get to know a person if they do really good quality services is just sit down and do business with them or sit down and have a session with them. And basically, just that's basically how I created my power play team. And they're mostly contractors. So they get paid per service because let's say, there's things that you need to do in your business, but you're not doing all the time. For example, like maybe you only need to do taxes like once a year or every quarter.
Okay.
So in that situation, a contractor might make more sense versus an employee. But I had to say that I'm in California, and depending on the state you're in, um, there's different laws on what's considered employee versus contractor. And I know like a huge number of people have heard of the Uber and Lyft situation
Right.
and DoorDash, all these gig workers. So if you're in one of those states, definitely consult an employment lawyer to make sure that they are being classified the right way.
Okay. That was a concept I hadn't thought of. I was thinking more in on the lines of, a virtual assistant or who is working for an hourly rate, or a salesperson who's working on a commission basis, but you're also then talking about contract work where it's for a certain period of time and to accomplish a certain goal. And I'm assuming that that's you're able to do that with more than just your tax person or more than just your business attorney. That there are other projects that you have where you don't have to have somebody on staff for it. You need somebody just to complete it. Can you talk a little bit about that? And like, are those folks that you're finding on at networking events, or are those folks you're finding on like Upwork or some of those gig related websites that are out there?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I totally forgot. Like virtual assistants is another example of like an hourly contractor. And so, like I've like, I asked for, there's several sources in which I find these people. Like I have looked into Upwork and, one of the things that, some of the major companies are using Upwork as a way to source individuals. Some people just look at Upwork or Fiverr and just think that, oh, they're $5. And in a way, the price does indicate, like in the mind of a consumer, it might indicate quality. So $5 could be the most amazing person in the world, but that price point that's attached to, what they're charging could like put in their mind that, maybe it's low quality. But the great thing about these websites is that they already provide testimonials versus someone that just comes to you and says, hi, I'm like Joe Blow. And then I'm the greatest like tax person in the world. I don't have any testimonials associated with you. So, with these websites, maybe you could test a few out because they're at a price point that's reasonable. And it has testimonials. You could also ask for a portfolio as well to judge whether or not they give quality work. And then the last thing you do is just work with them. And you can see how do they communicate, how what's their quality of the work, and judge from then. If you find a decent person and acquire them at a good price point, you're able to bring down your expenses and also maximize what you could do in your business and 10x your profits, 10x your growth, and find ways to, like I mentioned, like we both mentioned, maximize that profit margin so you get the most profits possible.
Okay. We had talked. We've talked a little bit about the team concept and about sharing responsibility that way. But a while back, you had mentioned that it's not just having a team; it's also automating things. Can you talk about automation in your business and what exactly are the type of things that you can automate to help free up some time for you?
Oh, exactly. So our company does the double T process. So the first T being teams, like we mentioned before. So that requires people to kind of like um, automate your services. And then the second thing we that I'm going to touch on is technology.
Okay.
So with technology, we're looking at different pieces of software that could kind of like, do things while you're sleeping, do things 24/7 for you, or do things faster and more efficient. So, what I like to do with all like clients coming in or all entrepreneurs that come to me is just sit down and I ask them like, what are you doing in your business? How are you consuming 24 hours in your day or 12 hours a day to run your business? And have them write down everything that they're working on, and then we basically dissect, can we outsource this to a team or technology? So, for example, some of the common things entrepreneurs do is, sending out emails. And so, there's basically email marketing, something that you could totally automate in your business. So let's say there's prospects that, let's say they didn't buy the first time around, but you want to be top of mind with them. So there's like, CRMs, I'm not sure, like customer relationship management software.
Right.
So like, there's there's Mailchimp. There's I know there's a whole bunch of them. Um,
There's HubSpot and a number of different services. Yeah.
and so with these software, the great thing is that you could go in and just segment out your audience. And so you go in and just pick like, this is someone that's bought before. So, maybe I should send them to another service or product. Or, this segment has never seen or heard about me before. Um, or they've like heard very little from me. So maybe I need to warm them up first before I actually send them any services or products. And then you could basically send them emails automatically. So you batch a whole bunch of emails and then send them at different intervals. And so that's one example of like automating things in your business. And the second thing we do in our company, we automate our marketing. So we work with B2B business owners, and LinkedIn is a huge platform, 700 plus million users on LinkedIn. And if you're trying to get like, potential clients, um, reach strategic business partners, reach investors, um, media opportunities, like 700 million users on LinkedIn, there's someone that you can talk to on there. So
Sure.
we automate that process on LinkedIn. And what we do is through our software that's complementary to our coaching service, we kind of go in and 7 days a week, they're reaching out to people and we're developing the scripts on how do we actually find these people and develop the right marketing copy that speaks to them.
Okay.
And then at the end, we hope to like, kind of work on getting them on an intro call and learning more about their business.
Okay. Are you doing that through like messaging, or how is the outreach done for LinkedIn?
Oh yeah. So with Connected is our software, and kind of like it's a really easy process. Like the first time I've used it, like I didn't really need that much training. So the way it works is basically we work on organic messaging, so not really like LinkedIn ads or anything like that. We basically look at who's your target audience, and then we make sure we get 1,000 results on LinkedIn because that's all you'll see. And then once we get that LinkedIn URL of your prospects, we plug it into the system. And then we develop 3 or 4 messaging sequences. So basically, when they connect with you, um, they'll send message one and you tell them when to send.
Okay.
And as soon as they respond back, the messaging stops. So that's how you stop sounding like a robot. At the very end, you kind of personalize what you want to say. And so they kind of like, I've messaged some people automatically and they had no idea that there's a robot behind that. But it's like 7 days a week. I went through surgery recently and removed my wisdom teeth. And during that whole month, it was reaching out for like prospects for me. So they're all lined up once I recovered. So
Okay.
that's one great thing about software.
Yeah. I, Software doesn't get tired, and it doesn't. It, it's you start it and it becomes automatic, and you don't have to worry about that. And it's reproducible. It's always doing the same thing over and over again. Um, I want to go back and talk a little bit about something you talked about. How sometimes in your networking, and sometimes especially when you're first starting and you don't have a whole lot of money to invest, you're bartering with people, and that's always been something I've been afraid of. Okay, to like, what do I have that can be of value to you? Can you share any strategies or something that you have there? Because that's it sounds great and it's something I would love to do, but it's outside of my comfort zone.
Absolutely. I think like fear of failure is like the number one thing that I've heard like countless entrepreneurs talking about because if you ask the reverse question, what would you do if you knew you can't fail? They'll come up with a huge list of things that they would absolutely do if they knew they couldn't fail. So, what I come back to is like, um, I've like kicked this like horse 1,000 times, but like time. So basically, I just think about like there's a certain amount of time that we all have. We will reach the end of it one day. And so that's always my kicker. And one thing that I always hear is like don't be attached to the outcome because there will always be more opportunities. And that's a fact. That's not something that, I like made up. There will always be more opportunities. And also, don't be afraid to like just ask for the opportunity. To get to the yes, you know, depending on your targeting, I would say if you have really good targeting, you get a whole line of yeses. But with every no, what you'll get is a whole bunch of data. And you do need that data in order to improve and get better. Let's say you're doing sales or marketing. And without that data, there's no way to like get to succeeding or get to where you want to be without jumping out of the comfort zone.
Okay.
And so, sometimes like I have exercises with my clients, and I have them write down everything they want to achieve in their business in their life, and then I have them on a separate side of the paper. I write down like what are things they need to do to get there, and it's a lot of things outside their comfort zone. And so, some people are happy just being where they are in their life or their business, but if they're happy, that's great. But if you really want to 10x your system, just there's things that always gonna be comfortable, but just do it anyways.
Right.
That's my main advice with getting past that fear of failure because there's always gonna be more opportunities and you know there time's not on your side. It's like there's only a certain amount of time, so do all you can in that time and just make sure it's the life that you do want to or the business that you do want to build.
Got it. And in some ways, growing pains are part of the process. Without the pain, there is no growth. And if we avoid pain, then we may actually be avoiding growth. Listen, Jen, you've been phenomenal. You shared a lot of challenging thoughts. If people are looking to find out more about you, connect with you, what's the easiest way to do that? Like website, social media, where's the best place to go?
Oh, absolutely. So I think I don't have my calendar linked memorized,
Okay.
but I
Well,
do have my LinkedIn.
okay. I can put your calendar link down in the show notes so that people can find it. That's not a problem.
Oh, absolutely. So through my calendar link or through my LinkedIn, which is linkedin.com/in/Jennifer P. Yan. You could definitely connect with me. And I'm offering a free 30-minute session right now to just kind of like identify what is your IGAs, your income generating activities, and finding ways to can we outsource this to software or outsource this to a team at a cost that makes sense to your business.
Okay.
So that's absolutely free, this free intro session. And then I look forward to connecting with all types of entrepreneurs, especially during this time of COVID, which like, a number of like businesses have like shut down and they're finding different ways to kind of like navigate this pandemic. So I'm more than happy to help anyone in your audience or anyone they might know to try to get through this pandemic and find ways to 10x their business.
Fantastic. I will put that calendar link in there. I will also put the LinkedIn URL in there so that folks can connect with you and take advantage of that offer. I think it's very generous. So, listen, Jen, thank you so much. It is time for 3 questions to establish your humanity. Are you ready for this, my friend?
Absolutely. Ready to go.
All right. So, who is your hero? Who's someone that you would say this is a person I look up to and they're my hero?
I guess like a celeb, like Oprah, I guess, because I've never like heard anyone say anything bad about Oprah, and even they did, she always find gracious ways to do a comeback without necessarily insulting them. So she's very crafty and smart with her words.
Got it. A very valid and noble hero. Although, who am I to judge who someone else's hero is? Uh, what is your favorite game to play? And that can be either a sport, a family game or a game on your phone, any game that you play that you really enjoy, what would be your favorite?
Um, I'll say Monopoly, just because it's like, you know, like I'm an entrepreneur, so Monopoly, what I love to do is just buy up all the hotels and just like own the entire board and have everyone pay me taxes.
Yeah.
And so that's like a huge game that I really love to play as a kid. And it's also like I've seen definitely values in like, this does correlate to real life as well.
Sure. Okay. Just random question on that. Do you have a certain piece that is your piece that you're like, if I'm going to play, this is who I'm going to be? I, I was always the top hat, I think, when we played in my house.
I think I was always the dog because like
Yeah.
I really like animals and I think I really like the dog and the them both for some reason.
Yeah.
Like they always spoke to me.
That works. All right. Last question for you. Christmas is coming up. Do you have a favorite Christmas food or a Christmas dessert or a Christmas cookie that this is the Jen Yan thing for that you really like for Christmas?
Oh God, it's so hard I like it's so hard to choose the dessert. I think um I don't know if this Christmassy, but like a tiramisu would be really great
Yep. That
with a side of like um whatever alcohol they put in there. Like the sweet and the alcohol is just perfect combination.
no worries. Hey, you're in a judgment-free zone, and if you have tiramisu at Christmas time, who am I to say that's not a Christmas food? Wonderful. Jen Yan, thank you so much for being with me. I appreciate you sharing. You are indeed a smart person. To all of my listeners, thank you so much for being here. And I will remind you that if you stop learning, you stop living. Have a great day, everybody.